Hey everyone. Have you ever felt like your brain just freezes up when you try to think in English? Like, you can't help but translate everything word by word?
Oh, totally. It's so common. But here's the good news. Your brain can actually learn to think in English naturally. We call it building an English brain.
Yes. And just like working out grows muscles, using the right methods helps your brain grow new connections for English. It's all about training.
And today, we're sharing 5 tips to help you build your English brain. And I promise, these aren't the same old tips you've heard before. They're fun and super practical.
That's right. Oh, and we've also put together a free PDF with the 50 most common expressions native English speakers use every day. So stick with us. By the end of this episode, you'll have some great tools to think in English without translating. Let's jump in.
Create thought chains. All right, let's dive into our first tip, creating thought chains. This one is super useful, but you might be wondering, what exactly is a thought chain?
Good question. So, a thought chain is when you start with one word and then let your mind naturally flow to the next word. For example, if I start with the word coffee, my mind might jump to Starbucks, then work, then deadlines, and finally, weekend plans. It's like a web of ideas all connected by one starting point.
Oh, I see. So it's not about thinking too hard or trying to be perfect in English. It's just about letting your brain make those natural connections, right?
Exactly. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to think in English. It's like when native speakers talk. They don't stop to translate every word, they just jump from one thought to the next.
That makes sense. But let's be real. It's not always easy, especially at the beginning. It can be hard to get your thoughts flowing in English, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's difficult at first because you're still training your brain to think in English. But here's the trick. Don't worry about being perfect or getting stuck. Start by writing down one word. Then think of as many related words as you can. For example, if you write down weather, you might come up with rain, clouds, sunny, temperature, and so on.
Yeah, and if you're feeling stuck, just write it down. Even if you're not holding a notebook, you can quickly write your thought chain in the comments section of our videos. It's a cool way to practice without feeling pressure.
That's a great idea. Plus, you might be surprised by how many words you can connect once you start. It's like a mental workout for your brain. And over time, this will help you think in English faster and more naturally.
Right, and the best part? It's fun. You get to see your own creativity at work as your mind jumps from one idea to the next. So, if you're listening, here's your challenge. Start with the word food and create your own thought chain. Share it with us in the comments. We can't wait to see what you come up with.
Absolutely. So, remember, the goal is to let your thoughts flow without overthinking. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Keep those thought chains coming. Build an English autopilot. So, tip number 2, building an English autopilot. This is all about getting your brain to automatically respond in English without getting stuck.
Oh, I love this one. Do you ever find yourself in a conversation and suddenly you just can't think of anything to say? You know, those moments when all you can say is, yeah, sure, or I don't know.
I've definitely been there. It's frustrating, right? But here's the cool part. You can train your brain to automatically respond with useful phrases like, that's interesting, or let me think about it, without even thinking twice.
Exactly. By memorizing these default responses, your brain gets used to using them, and it starts to feel natural. Over time, it's like you're building muscle memory for your English brain.
Yeah, it's like when you're driving and you don't have to think about every move you make. Your brain just knows what to do. Same with English.
And the best part is that native speakers actually use these phrases all the time. Like, if someone says something surprising, you can just respond with, that's interesting. Or if you don't understand something, what do you mean by that? They're simple, but super effective.
Totally. And once those short responses are automatic, you can start memorizing longer sentence structures, like, "Can you give me a little more information?" Or, "I'll have to check my schedule first." The more you practice, the quicker your brain will react.
And here's a little bonus for you guys. We've actually made a free PDF with the top 50 default responses that native speakers use every day. You can download it from the link below and start practicing these phrases right away.
Yeah, it's a great resource to keep with you and practice anytime. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got more helpful tips and resources coming your way. So start using these responses in your daily conversations and watch how much faster your English thinking becomes.
Speak in metaphors or analogies. All right, let's move on to tip number 3, speaking in metaphors or analogies. This one is super fun and can really help you level up your English.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. So when we talk in metaphors or analogies, we're not just describing things directly. We're using comparisons to help explain something in a more creative, interesting way.
Exactly. For example, instead of just saying, "It's hot," you can say, "It feels like I'm in a sauna." It paints a much clearer picture, right?
Yeah, it adds so much more depth to what you're saying. It makes your message stronger and more engaging. And when you do this, you're actually training your brain to think in bigger ideas, not just individual words.
Oh, I get it. It's like when you say, "I'm busy." Instead of just that, you could say, "I'm juggling 10 things at once." That not only tells someone you're busy, but it gives them a whole picture of what your day feels like.
Exactly. And that's how native speakers think. They don't just focus on words, they focus on ideas and concepts. By practicing metaphors, you're expanding your vocabulary and your imagination.
And the cool thing is, it makes you sound way more fluent. If you can describe things in different ways, you'll respond faster and more naturally the next time you talk about similar topics.
So here's your challenge for this tip. Try describing something in your day using a metaphor. For example, instead of saying "I'm tired," you could say "I'm running on empty." Get creative with it.
Yep, and remember, the more you use metaphors, the more natural they'll become. It's a great way to add color to your English and express yourself more clearly.
And don't be afraid to get a little imaginative. English is full of fun expressions, and you can make it even more fun by thinking outside the box. Reframe your emotions in English.
Let's jump into our next tip, reframing your emotions in English. This one is really interesting because it connects your feelings directly to the language.
Yeah, exactly. Our emotions are closely linked to the way our brains work. By processing those emotions in English, you're helping your brain build stronger connections with the language.
So, whenever you feel something, whether it's happiness, frustration, or even sadness, describe those feelings in English. For example, instead of just feeling frustrated, say, "I'm frustrated because I can't find my keys."
And when you do that, you're not just practicing vocabulary, but also training your brain to think in English. The more you do it, the more natural it will become.
Exactly. It's like you're tricking your brain into switching to English mode. If you want to keep that habit going, try writing or saying affirmations in English too. Something like, "I can improve my English every day," can really help strengthen that connection.
That's a great point. Affirmations don't just build your confidence, they also train your brain to switch into English automatically. It's like creating a mental shortcut that helps you think in English faster.
Yes. The more you practice thinking in English during emotional moments, the easier it will be to think in the language all the time. You'll start feeling like English is your default way of thinking, not just something you have to force.
And this method works even for small moments. Let's say you're feeling happy because you finished a project. Instead of just saying "I'm happy," you could say "I feel so proud because I just finished my work." It's a simple switch, but it helps.
Absolutely. So next time you're feeling something strong, Whether it's joy, stress, or frustration, try to describe it in English. Your brain will thank you for it in the long run.
Simulate English-only situations. And now, let's talk about our final tip, simulating English-only situations. This one is all about putting yourself in real-life scenarios, but in English, of course.
Right. It's like creating a little English world for yourself. By role-playing different situations, you can practice reacting quickly and naturally in English, just like you would in your own language.
Yes. For example, you can practice ordering food at a restaurant, arguing with a friend, or explaining your job to someone. These are everyday situations that we all experience, and practicing them in English makes it feel more natural.
Oh, I love that. And don't just stop at conversations you expect. Try recording yourself responding to fake emergencies like, "My phone isn't working," or "I need directions to the airport." It's a fun way to build your skills and get better at thinking in English on the spot.
That's true. You can simulate anything you want. If you're practicing a situation and you don't know how to react, that's a great moment to look it up. You're building real-life skills that you can use when the situation happens for real.
And here's a cool hack. If you ever feel stuck and don't know what to simulate, here's something you can do. When you're scrolling through TikTok or watching short videos, pause it. Imagine if you were the one in the video. How would you react? What would you say?
That's such a great idea. It's like you're practicing English without even realizing it. Plus, it helps you stay focused and save time on your phone.
And the more you do this, the quicker your brain will get at responding in English. It's like preparing for real-life situations, but without the pressure.
So, if you want to improve your English, start simulating situations every day. Your brain will get used to reacting in English, and you'll feel more confident in real conversations.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. We've shared some simple yet powerful tips to help you build your very own English brain.
Don't forget, we've created a free PDF with the top 50 default responses that native speakers use every day. You can download it through the link in the description below. And if you loved the free PDF of default responses, stay tuned. We'll be sharing even more PDF to boost your English learning.
Yeah, subscribing is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of them, and it supports our channel too.
So hit subscribe, leave us a comment, and remember, building an English brain is a journey, not a race. Keep practicing, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye for now. Keep practicing your English brain.